Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'll be featuring part 3, Card Alternatives, featuring the September 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit. And I have a few things ready for the first card. I'm going to be using the Spiderweb stamp, and I also have 2 of the ghosts. I did pre-stamp the trio of bats, and I fussy cut those out. And I also stamped out the Trick or Treat sentiment and fussy cut that out as well. We're going to be using Balmy Blue, and I have a pumpkin pie panel along with a top folding card base. All right, and then the last element is the round scallop circle, which I have cut out the scallop edge just to show you. And we're going to get started with the piece that I removed the scalloped edge. Using the Spiderweb stamp, I'm just going to stamp it with some black VersaFine ink, and we're going to stamp it a little off-centered, and using the black Stampin' Write marker, we're going to color in the center part of the web, which is going to be the eyeball. And with the red Stampin' Write marker, we're going to color in the rest of the Spiderweb image. Okay, the next step, I'm going to draw some veins coming out of the eyeball with a pencil. I was going to brave it and just freehand draw it, but I thought, no, better not. We'll just do the pencil first. And then once I'm done creating the veins, I'm going to go in with the black Stampin' Write marker and just trace over the lines. And then once I'm finished tracing the lines, I did attempt to go over the black lines with the red Stampin' Write marker just to create some red veins, but the fine tip end of the red marker wasn't working at all. And next we're going to add a little bit of shading around the eyeball with Balmy Blue. And then with the 2 ghost pieces, I'm going to do the same thing, shade around the edges, and just be sure to leave a white area for the highlight. And while I was shading in these 2 pieces, I really didn't think that there was enough contrast between these 2 pieces and the eyeball. Hindsight, if you do decide to make this project, I would use the ink spot that came in the kit, which is a purpley color, and I think it'll be a much better contrast for the 2 pieces, which are actually going to be wings to the eyeball. All right, so now I'm going to raise the eyeball over top of these 2 wing pieces that I've made. I originally stuck glue dots on it, but I decided that I wanted to raise the eyeball. And you can see over on the left side there, I have those pieces that I pre-cut in advance, and I've got dimensionals stuck on them already. I actually like how this eyeball turned out. It's kind of creepy, don't you think? All right, with the tear and tape, I'm going to use that to stick down the wings, and then I added some dimensionals on the center part of the eyeball. Before sticking down the main piece, I decided that I'm going to adhere the Trick or Treat sentiment first. Just get that centered at the bottom there, and now we're going to put the main piece down. And then I have the trio of bats. I stamped out 3 of those, and then we'll just strategically place them around the panel. All right, so now I'm just going to mount the pumpkin pie panel onto a top folding card base. So I decided not to go with some extra layers, although it probably would add a little bit more to the card if I did layer an extra matte, maybe black. That's what I'm thinking. And then one more bit of detail that I decided to add was some lines on the wings. So you decide if you want to add lines or no lines for the wings. Okay, so that's it for the first card. Pretty easy, and then a couple of stills, and then we're going to jump into the second card. Now again, these videos are placed in a different order from when they were made. I have this leftover star panel that was created from a bigger panel in the last card in this video, so you'll see how I made that. But it was just sitting around on my desk, so I decided to use that, just the spur of the moment, for this particular card, the main focus was creating a witch's broom, if you will. And so it does measure 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4. And I colored it in with the ink spot that came in the kit. And I didn't think it was going to be that purpley, but it's a very dark purple color if you just keep loading on the color. Anyway, I did want color on this panel instead of leaving it white, and it turned out pretty darn good. In addition, I decided to cut it down to 1 3/4 inches. So we have 3 equal pieces. And while I was thinking about the layout, I decided to also stick it down onto its own little panel. And then as a contrasting color, I decided to sacrifice one of the orange boxes to back this little piece. And we're going to be sticking this down onto a mini slimline. And with one of the ghosts on the back side, we're just going to draw a little sketch like so. And then we'll cut out the sides. And then with a black Stampin' Write marker, we're just going to draw a little band where it tapers in. So it's not a ghost. It's going to be a witch's broom. When you draw the lines on the top part of the mop, make sure you come down from the top center each time and curve it. That way the top looks round. And by the way, I did swap out that marker because it wasn't functioning, so I brought in the Sharpie. Now we're going to add some color to the broom with soft suede. And now I'm going to add more ink onto the center part where it tapers in, and then the top part as well. And then we'll shade all around the edge of this broom, and we'll leave a highlight in the center. And by doing that, it makes the piece pop and it looks more realistic. Okay, and I'm pretty sure this is soft suede as well. And that is about a 5 1/2 inch card. And I'm just freehand drawing the broom handle. So it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. So I'm just going to cut this out, and I'm going to make sure that I don't have any sharp areas. All right, so just showing you the total length of the broom. It's 5 inches, and then we'll come up maybe about an inch when you stick down the mop head to the handle. So all in all, that panel is 3 by 6, so it's just under 6 inches in length. And now I'm just going to shade that handle in so it doesn't look too flat. Add some dark shadows to it so it matches the mop. And this time I decided to use the little dauber since it is a super skinny little section that needs to be shaded in. With VersaFine black ink, I'm going to stamp the sentiment, which came in the kit. And next I'm going to stick down the witch's broom, that's what we're going to call it, with some dimensionals. And while I was doing this, I was saying to myself, oh, be careful, you're going to get ink on the panel. And lo and behold, I did. So I'm using my little handy dandy eraser, and that actually removed it. So here's a couple more of those flowers that I made in the last video. And I think that is actually the last 2 out of the 6. And I stamped out another trio of bats, fussy cut it out, and we'll raise it with some dimensionals. And that's it for this card. I kind of forgotten about those stars, didn't I? Because my other card alternatives I did use a lot, but for these cards and the non-Halloween video that I posted earlier, I didn't use any of them. All right, so that's it for this second card. I actually like how it turned out. It's kind of a cheerful witchy broom. So here are some stills. And now we're going to jump into the final card. So here's where I have a scrap panel and the star stamp. And with black VersaFine ink, I'm just going to stamp all around this panel. And we're going to cut it down to 3/4 by 5 1/4 inch. And with the purpley topper, I'm just going to chop it down right where the crease is. And then on each side, I'm going to take off 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch, I'm going to flip it to the other side. So in total, 2.5 by 4.5 inches, this panel. And the corners, you can miter that using the Stampin' Up! Punch. I can't remember the name of it. And then with the round scallop piece, I'm just placing it there just so I get a good idea where to stamp that Trick or Treat sentiment. And now I'm just going to stick down that round scallop piece. And here's the star panel. It is cut down to 3/4 inch by 5 1/4. And just showing you the measurements again of each of the pieces, just in case you missed it. The black panel is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay, now we're going to stick the star panel down, and when you do that, make sure you leave a little black edge. And that way, when you stick this entire panel onto the white card base, the star panel doesn't kind of get lost. And with the purpley piece banner, I'm going to raise it with some dimensionals. And I decided to add some gold twine to this card. It's about 22 inches in length. Just stick some glue down on that scallop piece and we'll stick the gold twine to it. And then the next piece I'm going to stick over top is the spider web die cut. And we're going to raise that with some dimensionals. And I stamped out 2 more of those bats and fussy cut them out. And then we're just going to adhere them to the card with some glue dots. And then onto a top folding card base. So here's a couple of stills, and then we're going to jump into a shot of all 3 cards that were made in this video. I hope you enjoyed today's card share, and I can't wait to see what's in store for next month's Paper Pumpkin. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.